What is up, you guys? It's your boy Andy Arts. I'm back with another video, and let's go ahead and talk about fine arts, right? A lot of fine art students, people that like to draw, paint, color, right? Fine arts. I'm not referring to digital art, right? Digital art will be actually drawing on a tablet, on Photoshop, Clip Studio, so and so. That's digital art, creating the art, with the digital tool. Fine arts, it's focusing more on like the traditional aspect of art, with traditional tools like pencils, brushes, acrylic paint, oil paint, such and such, right? Fine arts really focuses on the beauty of art, but the way of creating art has changed so much, right? And digital art has sped up. It has really speed up the process in many ways. So I would say a fine art degree is useless. And I think many teachers, many students would agree with me, especially students that are $60,000, $50,000, $30,000 in student loan debt and are still paying for it because of the interest rates, right? A fine arts degree is very useless. I've known friends who've gone to school for fine arts. I've heard horror stories. They take out a loan, then they can't find a job. And before I go on to the pros and cons, what people do not understand about the art world, especially fine arts, what people do not understand is that fine arts or the world of art is not like a job. It's not like a regular job. Let's say you go to school for accounting. Let's say you go to school for a medical school, right? You go to a medical school, you go for a business degree, an accounting degree, whatever. You graduate with those things and immediately you can find a job. That is not the case in the art world, and a lot of people don't want to admit that. And I think that a lot of people are just kind of like, I don't know if they're spoiled or if they're like delusional. They don't want to really acknowledge or understand, right? People just think, oh, I'm just going to go to college, study this, and then that's it. And then eventually I'll find a job doing exactly what I want to do. That's only about like 5-10% of students. So out of like 10,000 students, really about what? 10% of that will actually get hired in fine arts. And a lot of the times you're not even going to do the things that you actually want to do. A lot of artists, they do what they want to do when they go home after their jobs. that's the truth. But okay, so a fine arts degree is useless. Okay, a lot of people will agree with me. A lot of students will agree with me. A lot of students that are in student loan debt will agree with me. A lot of teachers even, although they're not going to say it straight to my face because they have a job to maintain, right? A fine arts degree is useless. But let's go over the pros and cons. What are the pros of a fine arts degree? Going to college for a fine arts degree, drawing, painting, sculpture, all of that. What are the pros? The first pro is joining an art community, right? You go to school, you go to a college, university, you meet people, and then you can actually kind of like build like a little social network, make some connections, and that way actually you can actually get a job that way, depending on how good your art is, or depending on what you want to do. If you want to work in let's say in a museum, that's a way of getting, that's a fine arts degree will be good for that. Another pro would be you actually gain pretty good knowledge, especially when it comes to history, like the history of art, fine arts, learning about the historical figures like Frida Kahlo, Picasso, Monet, a lot of the artists, Greek artists, a lot of art history. So that is good. So, and then the third pro of going to getting a fine arts degree is getting feedback from your teachers. Because when you're learning on your own, like I have, you don't really get a lot of feedback. I actually had to go on Facebook groups and other groups and seek out feedback and get people to criticize my artwork, right? So those are the pros of a fine arts degree. Realize that none of these exactly have to do with actually getting a job. So joining an art community, gaining good knowledge about art history and such, and then feedback from your art teacher. None of those have to do with getting a job, because the point of going to school is to eventually get a job and make money. That's the whole point of making the investment. Let's go over to the cons, because this list is actually much bigger. So the first con of a fine arts degree is that you don't need to know art history to get a good job in art. I'm sorry. I am really sorry. This is gonna piss a lot of people off. I know. What you need to know, what you need to understand is the industry you're going into. So art history or other fine arts knowledge is not going to help you get a job. You need to have the knowledge. You need to understand the industry you're getting into. So when it comes to art, the best industry to get into is really the entertainment industry, which is media, storyboard artists, animation, concept artists, things of that nature, right? Background artists. Those are the things that are going to get you hired. Okay? So you need to understand the industry that you're going to work for. That's going to help you get hired. The second con is an art degree won't make you good at art. You're not going to become a good artist by getting a fine arts degree. You go to school, the teacher's going to teach you some things, and then you're going to have homework, you're going to have projects to do. None of these things are going to make you a good artist, okay? So what makes you a good artist is the amount of time you spend practicing your fundamentals. Okay? As a matter of fact, being in art school, being an art student in college, does not give you enough time to learn and practice your fundamentals. So everything from anatomy, forms, shapes, colors, shading, lighting, and so on. You need to practice these things, and this requires hours and hours and hours of work, of practice, right? And you see all those YouTube artists, like Ross Draws or Sam Does Art. They spend hours, thousands of hours practicing. That's how they got that good. Anyways, then the third con is that very few people and companies hire artists based on having an art degree. So you get a fine arts degree, a lot of companies, they're just not going to care. And what gets you hired as an artist is a good enough portfolio, which I should have done right out of high school, right? As a matter of fact, this is a growing trend with tech companies. So companies like Apple, Google, Tesla, they are hiring people based on skills instead of college degrees. So your fine arts degree really won't matter. So it's kind of a bad investment, really. And it won't matter because, they have seen, a lot of these companies, they just have seen that colleges are not doing a good job of preparing people for the job market. And they're not. They're really not. As a matter of fact, technical schools do a way better job than universities do. So the fourth con here is most art jobs are contracting work. So that means once a project is over, the job is over. And these types of jobs don't require a degree. This is all portfolio based. Again, just following up with the previous one. The fifth con is a fine art degree does not have many job options. If you are thinking of being an art teacher in schools and colleges, then usually that requires a master's degree in arts, which will require more time and money. Right? So a lot of people, they go to fine arts, they get a fine arts degree, then they're like, oh, I'm going to become an art teacher. So they get their master's degree. So you go to school so that you can teach art, but most people want to create art and put it out there in the world. So you kind of go into this circle when you go down that route. There's nothing wrong with that, but most people don't want to become art teachers. Most people want to create things, right? And so number 6, the sixth con is going to be there are better options than a fine arts degree. A graphic design degree is much better. An animation degree is so much better. An illustration degree is more job focused, so it's much better. Many other forms of art degrees are just overall better. So you really have to think about what you want to do for your career. So, and going back to what I said before, nowadays you don't need a degree at all to get hired in many positions. So you got to practice your fundamentals, create art that companies and people will pay for. That's what's going to get you in the door. Con number 7 is if you are thinking of being self-employed, like being a YouTuber, like an art YouTube, or selling prints, selling your art, selling your artwork, going to school is really not necessary. Okay, you are better off taking online classes. You're better off taking online classes. And there are tons of courses out there to learn how to draw and paint. Okay, so one of the one of the courses that I recommend if you're struggling with anatomy, drawing anatomy, is Riven Phoenix Structure of Men. You can find it on Udemy for like, I think like $10, maybe a little more than that. But you can find it on Udemy for very cheap. And yeah, so there's just so many great courses out there. And one of the courses that I recommend is Colosso. Colosso has a lot of great courses for drawing, painting, so and so. And if you don't like digital art, I highly recommend you reconsider. I know a lot of traditional artists out there that like to just draw and paint with brushes, or acrylic paint, watercolor, oil paints. That's all good and great, but I highly recommend that you also learn to paint digitally with Photoshop, Clip Studio, or with some type of software. Get a drawing tablet, get a Huion X Pen tablet, learn how to draw digitally. It will help you also in your career, because a lot of this digital stuff, it just helps you speed up the process. It really, really, really does help you speed up the process. And a lot of times, especially when you're doing freelance work, people are going to want you to send them a digital file of the artwork, so a JPEG, PNG file. And I don't know, if you're like taking pictures of your paintings on canvas, it's just a longer process, right? So digital art really is, especially with this modern day that we're living in, modern day work, it really helps speed up the entire process. So I highly recommend you guys also consider digital art, getting a drawing tablet, and go through that learning curve and learn how to draw digitally as well. So I hope this was helpful. This is from a guy who I've been to art school. I've done all this. I've been a graphic design apprentice for people that own like graphic design shops, in local areas where I live. And I've seen the world change, man, from the 2000s all the way till now. So basically 20 years worth. I mean, I feel kind of old saying this, but I think you guys will really benefit from this knowledge. Really think about what you want to do. And because nowadays you don't want to sell your soul, to an art school, $30,000, $50,000, and then walk out of there with all this debt and no opportunities, no job openings, right? So I hope this was helpful. Whatever your thoughts are, make sure to comment below. Make sure to subscribe to the channel. Make sure you hit the notification bell for future notifications. This is your boy, Andy Arts. I'm going to make more of these videos and tutorials and other reviews. So that's it for me. Subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace out.